companies nowadays are facing tougher challenges than they did years ago. This is why many companies as Dell, IBM, and Kodak are sending expertise and businessmen to those selected countries to help develop their companies there. This is a case of our interview today, that is Miguel Nieto, and he's a former manager of Kodak in Mexico. He studied, well, he has a bachelor in industrial engineering in the ITESO. He had many engineering assignments in the factory of Kodak in Guadalajara. He was the operation engineer and the chief quality engineer in this factory. Then he moved to the US and he expanded and he went to a brighter range. And he was the head of the quality operations in whole Latin America. Then he went to Colombia and there he was the business manager of the North Andean zone, which includes Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Chile. And finally, he became director of consumer and commerce in sales in Mexico. Now I'll leave you Michel with Miguel Nieto, who's going to talk us about his experience as an expatriate.
Tell me a little about your career in this major company. Which positions have you taken and for how long?
I started in Kodak in Mexico back in '84, and I worked for Kodak for almost 28 years. Started in manufacturing as a process engineer, and then I took several positions in quality, in project management, in as a manufacturing engineer. Later, I have some managerial positions also in manufacturing. I manage several units, manufacturing units, until 95. During that time, I had the opportunity to visit all major factory sites, manufacturing sites that Kodak had at that time. I have assignments in some countries like in US, particularly in Rochester, New York, where headquarters are located. I had the opportunity to have a short-term assignment in Australia. I visited all the major factories, as I said. Then I had the opportunity to move from manufacturing to manage a project to re-engineer all the business processes for Kodak in Latin America. My position at that time was the quality director for Latin America. And during that assignment I was based in Miami, Florida. My responsibility there was to manage all the quality processes and quality operations for all the factories that Kodak had in Latin America, and also for all the business processes and business units that Kodak was operating in Latin America at the time. And then I had that job for about 3 years. Later I came back to Mexico and I started a new career almost in all the commercial areas, meaning sales and marketing. I was part of different business units, particularly consumer was the one that I spent most of my time. I had some responsibilities in South America for sales and marketing as the country business manager for Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Chile. Some of the jobs that I performed in that role was to change all the business model that Kodak was operating in those countries. Instead having a legal entity there, to move from to indirect sales through distributors in those countries. And the last position I had was as a sales director and commercial director for all the business units that operates in Mexico. Graphic arts, consumer, digital imaging, etc. And recently, in January this year, I had the opportunity to left Kodak on an early retirement program. So by April this year, I will accomplish 20 years. So it was about 20 years the time that I spent in this company.
I see that you have worked in several countries by now. Is it difficult to work as an expatriate? And which difficulties do you encounter when doing so?
When you are an expat in a company like Kodak, you have a lot of facilities, particularly in the way that they support you for your movement and for your establishments and for some things that are for any regular person might be a little difficult, like to find a school, to find a house, to find a doctor. So companies like Kodak facilitates all that process a lot. Regardless of that, the difficulties you have when you are an expat is that you are moving to a different country, to a different culture. Depending on your positioning in terms of your personal life, sometimes you do it as a single individual, some you do it with family. When you do it with family, it's a little bit tougher because you don't only move yourself and you don't have to get accustomed to yourself. You also have to worry about the schools of your kid and the friends of your wife and the house and some other things that are the regular life for everyone, but instead of doing it in your hometown, you have to do it in a different country, in a different culture with new people. That's normally a process that takes to get accustomed about 3 to 6 months. And after that, after you get accustomed to it, it's a wonderful experience to live in a different country, to know different people, to know and interact with a different culture. It's a wonderful experience.
I can imagine.
When a professional worker is sent to another country, the company that sends him is expecting from him a very important task that consists in developing and making grow his business in his own area. The professional workers have a specific mission as well as new responsibilities and new objectives. It is important for the worker to know how he is going to perform his new job. And now Claudio Nieto is going to ask or interview how he managed to deal with these challenges.
When you are assigned a new position as an expat, do you know beforehand what your function is going to be like and how are you going to perform it?
Well, when you are assigned as an expat, as any other assignment that you have in your career, you know in advance the title and probably the function. And you probably know which are the major objectives or goals that you have to accomplish. Now, in terms of how it's going to be like and how you're going to execute it, you, based on your experience and based on what you can research in advance, you probably have an idea, probably a good idea. But as any other performance that you do in your life, no matter if it's a job or no matter if it's a game or no matter what you do, there's always going to be certain things that you are going to know, you won't know until you
Well, in these new positions, you surely have to fix short-term as well as long-term objectives. How do you control if these objectives are being followed successfully?
Well, you have to have clear objectives, long-term, short-term. First thing that you have to assure is that short-term objectives are consistent with long-term ones. And then you have to break it down to the specific activities and to the specific measures that are going to give you each of these execution, each of these projects, each of these activities are going to give you the proper achievement of those objectives. As a part of that process, you have to define which are the success measures for each of those objectives, in such a way that you have to measure those activities as frequent as needed, so you can track the performance of your teams, so the performance of your activities, the performance of your projects, and track the right execution and the right path, and also to have the chance to correct any activity or to correct any action or to correct any project on time.
Okay. Well, you've been talking to us of the expat experience. So, in general, would you recommend an expat program for the company as well as for a personal, professional experience?
The expat programs are very expensive. To send an individual, most of the times with their families, to a different country is normally an expensive process, an expensive program. Not only for the company, also for the individual and for his family. For the families, I mean. Depending on the objective that the company has to have an expert is how it would be recommended or not. Normally when you want to have an expert, it's either because you want to develop an individual, or either because you want to have a function in a country, and you don't have the right individual there to execute. If that is the case, then an expert program is very recommendable. It is the company gains and the individual gains. But just to do an expert program is expensive. It's very expensive, and probably not all the times that investment has a good return. So the company, normally this is a function that human resources has to perform. The company has to evaluate what is the objective to have an expert, and to decide if that investment is going to be worth.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the time, Mr. Nieto, and we appreciate it.